households with Joneses?
Oh, we've got several Joneses.
What about Homer and Donna?
I've only got one Homer and Donna.
Okay, that's the one I want you to go to.
That's where I'm at right now.
Okay, down at the bottom, you still have the caution under notes. And down below it says in the hot notes. Okay, the reason why when you type in caution on the account level, it will make this tab come up first instead of the policy summary, which normally does. So don't overuse the hot notes, but sometimes there's cautionary accounts that as soon as you bring them up, maybe Rhonda only should handle that account. But really what it means is be careful how you handle this account or what you tell them, or it's one of your 20% of the 100 that are problematic continual service nightmares.
So it's the word. So it's the word caution that triggers that hot notes flag, right?
You betcha.
Okay.
So when it's no longer a hot note, you want to maybe leave the account note there, but it's no longer a hot note. Then all you have to do is highlight the word caution and use your delete key. Keep the note if you'd like, but just erase caution, and then save it with the check mark. Go to the next account and come back to Homer Jones. And now you should see that the policy summary is up, and all it says is notes. Well, actually, it'll probably say no notes because we haven't done activity log. But it won't be hot notes anymore.
Right, it just says read notes.
Yep, that's exactly what it should say.
Okay.
And we have that note there because it said training with Donna or whatever it said in there.
Okay.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, it is.
Because there is sometimes that you need to know just something when this account calls. You need to be reminded of something before you really start giving out info. But you don't have to make all these hot notes because it is nice when the policy summary is up because a lot of times you can answer just generic questions right from the policy summary. You don't even have to go into the individual policies.
I see.
Okay, so I know that was kind of a lot of gobbledygook here, but let's say this is all we need to get the account record set up. It's now like a file record.
Okay.
Now we go down to the Members tab next to the policy summary. Click on that. This is one big long grid from left to right, and you could type on it, but you'd be tabbing forever to the right. So I like this other method of either adding or editing a new member. So that little symbol next to last name, you guys look up real close. It looks like a pair of eyeglasses. And click on that, and this is your utility of adding or editing an existing person or deleting a member or being able to move a member to another account or your copy and paste. But we want to add a new member, so go ahead and select that. Type in very quickly Donna Jones. What I'm trying to get you guys to get used to doing is if you are already writing a lot of paper trail stuff when you're starting to accumulate information on a new call, I'm assuming you're kind of all doing that. Am I correct or not so?
Yes.
Okay. What we want to do is streamline and reduce and keep reducing how much you think you need to write on paper trails. Because if you all put stuff in here where 90% of what you write down, there's places in here for it. That way everybody has the same place to look. It's easily readable. You don't have to hunt down drawers or desks. When the next person gets that phone call, they got to go and find that pending quote or information or whatever. So we're going to depend on whether you're quoting auto or fire. You know when you need to ask for the date of birth, the social security number, the driver's license. So if we put in Donna, last name Jones, the relationship would be wife. When it's just a single person that you're setting up a household for, they would be, you'll see in the drop-down list, it's head of household. And the third line down is where your work phone, your cell phone, your fax, your pager. That should be plenty of phone fields. If it's not, you got that little notes area there. And also my email address, again, will be sales@agencybusies.com. You can even put when they're first licensed, what their occupation is. If somebody becomes deceased, then under the Social Security number on the top row, there's a deceased checkbox there.
Agency business.
And that means, unlike farmers, whenever you guys pull up the birthday list for cards, we're going to ask you, do you want to include the deceased? And of course you don't, so you leave it blank. you will never have a birthday list where your deceased people show up on it, like Farmers is famous for.
Yeah.
I can't believe after this many years they haven't fixed that problem.
Right.
But it still happens.
Uh-huh.
Okay, this notes field is one of two where whoever I'm talking to and I'm starting to quote, instead of writing it down, at least a lot of the general questions that you ask, who's your current carrier, how long have you been with them, single, married, smoker, blah, blah, blah. You guys can start to use abbreviations like for smoker, SMKR, or however you guys want to set up certain abbreviations so that this typing goes in very quickly.
Okay.
And you can take in as much information as you want initially, especially on auto. Now, home might be a little bit different, and you do want to use a quote sheet. And I'm not saying you can't write things down, but when it's obvious where things can go, try to use the program more for it. Also, your accident dates, your citation dates, if they've got some history, you can put briefly in the notes what that accident entailed, like if it's their fault or 50-50 or whatever. Click OK, and we're going to go back to that eyeglasses. We're going to add another member, which is going to be quickly Homer Jones, so I can give you his email address, agencybusiness.com. Because from the very get-go, and I'm going to skip ahead here, when you're done with your phone conversation, I want you to look in the upper right-hand corner. There's two red icons. The first one looks like somebody's writing in a book or a log. And the second one is to view the activity log for this household that you happen to be on. So we're going to create a log.
Hold on just a minute. Let me find you.
And we're going to put floor member Donna, because I'm in the drop-down menu. That's why it's important those rated drivers get added very quickly, because we're going to select from that drop-down menu that Donna is who this activity log pertains to. The event is, well, whatever that is in your choice, go ahead and just let it default. But you could choose from the list and choose something else if you wanted to. And we already know it's logged probably by Audrey because you're the one signed on. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, I signed on in Jackie's name.
Okay, in the future you should not do that, however, because you guys need to know that if your computer's not working and you need to move to somebody else's desk, and it's maybe a part-time desk, so it's open in the afternoon, when the first person leaves, like Jackie, if you're part-time and somebody's working at your desk on the off days, they would sign on at your desk with their user ID and sign on.
Okay.
And when that person leaves in the afternoon, they close ABS. If a different person is coming to use that computer, they sign on with their own user ID.
Okay.
If you don't do that, then these logs don't follow the right person that actually did these logs.
Right.
It'll be real confusing.
Right.
But normally that would say Audrey, and then in the notes just put training with Donna, ABS. Because this is going to become a permanent log. It's already date time stamped. So now that that's saved, you're going to answer yes. You cannot alter or delete that note once it becomes saved. And that is also uniquely different to why you don't want to use comments in Farmers.
Okay.
And that's because,
Where's it saying?
assuming you know this,
Ask
Rhonda,
her.
and you girls do too, that you can actually go in and delete notes.
Okay, now I'm not seeing anything where it says saved. I just got okay here.
That's okay. That means it's saving. It's either yes or no, you're saving the log. Okay or cancel. So you're going to okay it.
How come you don't have Donna's work phone?
Okay, what about your work phone number? Is
Well,
that
I
the
already kind
same?
of gave it to you on the main screen.
That 503
503.
659 6752?
Right. I didn't
Okay.
give you our home phone when we set up the account. I only give you the work number.
Okay, I
By the way,
understand.
we only want to be prospects, and we do not want to be put on any mass mailing list. And just so you know, please don't solicit us to support merchandise or something, because I have at least 4 other different states that have, you know, they use us as part of their solicitation, and I always ask them to please remove us because we support those within our own community or our own state.
Okay.
So I can't afford to do the other one.
Okay, this nonprofit.
Okay,
is this where you're talking about all that
I
nonprofit?
feel kind of guilty, but it's like, come on, you guys. Okay, so now we want to view the log for this household. So the second red icon. And what comes up is the Homer and Donna Jones account, the date, the exact time, who the contact was, and the action taken, which is what you chose, whatever that drop-down menu was,
Okay.
and then what your note is.
Okay.
This nice chronological thing, as you guys start using these logs more, if you have a weird claim that's going on and you were to ship the file over or ship whatever documentation would be helpful in that claim, especially around injuries or something, it would behoove you to print this activity log for this client and send it off to the adjuster. Because many times, and the reason why I want you to start getting used to this with your very first prospect call is during the underwriting stage, a lot of weird red flags sometimes come up. You're still insuring this person, or you're probably going to insure them, but when there's a claim in that first year or so, and you have these logs or the phone conversations during the course of the claims handling, a lot of times these can be denied as fraudulent because of what they said during the underwriting phase, or what comes back to bite them, so to speak.
Okay.
I think your office probably already does this, but I do want to stress the point of everybody's responsible for their own data input, which, Rhonda, that includes you too, in case you weren't planning on doing this. But if you're handling phone calls, and Mike knows I'm preaching to the choir on this, but when you handle your own phone calls, you are responsible for what went on in that phone conversation. And if you take down your data and have somebody else enter that prospect or that client data for you, you're missing the power behind the program, which is from the very get-go, any call gets recorded by the person that had that conversation, because that's what's going to come back to protect you in the event of a serious claim. Or you said, he said, that kind of thing, and there's no good log for it. But if you also hand over that data entry for somebody else to do, then you're creating that redundancy of that first person already took down a whole bunch of notes on paper trail, and now you're handing it off to somebody else to put it into ABS. So then you're triplicating your data entry because you've already got farmer's entry anyway. And before us, you were using ANS. That was another form of data entry. And you were using paper trail. So all we're really trying to do is you replace ANS with us, but we're trying to streamline as the second duplicate side how fast your data entry goes into the program. And you're going to have duplicate data entry because ABS helps you control the accuracy of your data. You cannot control it with farmers. And they are proprietary. Their systems make mistakes in their downloading process. The deceased thing, for example, if you can't trust all their mailing lists, you constantly probably have to go in and tweak them to some extent before you really want to use them as a large mail merge. You won't have to do that stuff in ours. The worst thing usually is somebody's either active or inactive, or they did mail and you just forgot to change the address. But you don't have to take a legitimate address and make it look more professional because farmers abbreviates them or something.
Okay.
Phase, and I should cover the icons, I guess, with you. Let's go into the auto policy first. There's a green car. The yellow house means the home or the fire insurance. All your policies will go under fire. And then that looks like a little flood, the blue water there. But if you hover your pointer over them, it'll tell you exactly what it is.
I don't see that.
Your life pot, your boat,
oh, there it is.
Umbrella, commercial, that's little smokestacks, work comp, the health symbol, and the surplus line is for kind of oddball policies. We can talk about that later on. And then you have the calendar. This program loaded and installed ABS's calendar, but if you don't want to use our calendar after giving it a little try, you can always select instead the Outlook calendar. But our calendar is already shared. It's already networked.
Yeah.
Outlook you had to originally network separately.
Okay.
Then this Rolodex card file is for all, again, this is where you put the carrier's information or those contacts, but this is all your glass vendors, professional, contacts, but it's also each individual's personal card file. So your hairdressers, your golf buddies, the Rotary, you name it, can go in this card file. I think the card file is unique to each computer and their particular user. Then this next little symbol is kind of cool. Send an inter-office message. So click on that, Audrey. You can tell it's already date time stamped. We already know who it's from, which technically is Rhonda. But Rhonda, I'd like you to choose either through the drop-down message that you want to send a message to somebody. So
Right
just
there.
select one of the users.
Center, yeah.
And of course, you put your subject in and the phone number if they were actually calling somebody back, and you can. It's just like a little button slip, is what we call it.
Can we do
And
multiple?
we're going to put again training with Donna.
Can we put multiple addressees there?
No, it won't do any good because this is only going to one person.
Okay.
Well, it'd be handy not to type it 3 times.
Well, why would you need to send an inter-office message? This is usually for client stuff, like you want them to handle something on a client.
Okay.
Or you're addressing, it's just like you're answering the phone call and Audrey's taking a message for Rhonda, and she would hand this over the old way to Rhonda.
I see.
If you're wanting to do a message type thing, I would assume you're going to do it through email. If you want everybody to be aware of something going on or whatever, I'd probably use that as an email because you can put everybody's name in it. Now that might be an enhancement for later on, but generally the intent of this is it's a phone conversation. You're passing that responsibility on to somebody else, or you want them to be aware of something going on.
Okay, so like I'm answering the phone and it's for Rhonda, and I need to leave her a message that she needs to call so and so.
Well, that's what this is for.
Okay.
So in the message, you put some kind of writing in there. I don't care what it is, but just write something.
Listen to
Now, since this is Rhonda's sign-on, Audrey, I want you to choose one of the other girls' computers. I don't want you to use Rhonda's because we're on Rhonda's computer.
Actually, we're on Jackie's
we're
computer.
on Jackie's computer, Donna. I'm sorry. We're on Jackie's computer, and I'm on as Jackie.
Oh, okay. So then you can send it to Rhonda. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot that.
Okay, so I can send this message to Rhonda.
Yes, and then send it. So Rhonda, within about 30 seconds, as long as ABS is open on any of your computers, in order for this to operate, your computer has to have the program open, and within 30 seconds or less, this same message is going to pop up on Rhonda's computer, and she can run back over there real quick if it's not very far away. And this message would be sitting there, and she can look at it and say, okay, I don't have time to deal with this right now because this popped up regardless of whose account you're in behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So she can look at it and go, okay, she either has time to handle it now, or she's just going to put cancel, because Rhonda's over at her computer now, correct?
Well, Michael went in there.
Or Michael did. So, later on when she gets off her phone call or whatever she was doing, she wants to look at that message again. So you would click on View.
Okay.
And
So
down at the very bottom, and you can do this as often during the day as you want, because it's just like the same thing as looking at your physical messages on your desk. They get buried for a while, but then you got to kind of bring them to the top, heap, and start dealing with them, because you've been working on other stuff.
Okay,
So,
he said it popped up in there.
Message.
Okay, I'm gonna kind of ask you to do that for me one more time, Donna. Now he said it did pop up.
Okay, so now Mike's back here.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, if he was on the view thing, when he went to do view, inter-office message, is there a computer that's closer that we should have sent the message to instead of him having to leave the room?
Everyone has their own office pretty much.
Oh, they do? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I'm the front office.
So just tell me what you need me to do.
We'll see what it is it'll when you view that inter-office message on that other computer, it'll show all the messages that are sitting there just for Rhonda.
Yeah, it looks like
And
that.
you don't print them or anything because they're there until you individually delete those that you handle.
Where do I go to view the message again? Where would I go?
Michael,
Yeah.
I want you to go to Rhonda's computer and I want you to send a message to Jackie.
Okay, got it.
And just put training or ABS so that I can show her on this screen when she does the view.
Very good. Thank you.
So don't do the view right now, Audrey.
Okay, that's
Look
fine.
at the account screen for now. He needs to send the message so you can see it. Sometimes it pops up right away. Sometimes it'll take 10 or 20 seconds.
You got it
Now,
done,
Rob, I
Michael?
know is probably out of the office a fair amount of time, it sounds like. But it is important that you guys sign on to ABS first thing in the morning. And even if Rhonda's there and then all of a sudden has to leave, it's a good idea to close ABS on that computer.
Okay,
Alright,
so
there it is. It'll pop up any
So did
second.
it pop up?
okay,
with
it
what you
hasn't
sent
popped
you?
up yet, but in the morning, say I need to go ahead and turn on Rhonda's computer and
See,
then,
there it is right there.
And
Who's the
okay,
server, Mike?
Pardon?
Is the server dedicated?
It's Rhonda's, yeah. No. Rhonda's computer is the server. No.
Okay.
Wait a
So
minute.
whoever
I thought- no,
comes in
Jackie's-
No,
in
Jackie's
the
is.
morning
Jackie's
needs
is
to make sure that her computer is up and running and you're signed onto the network. And then any one of you can open up ABS.
Yeah.
okay, all right. So this I have received a message from Rhonda. What?
Okay. So you look at it and you're going, okay, I need to do something with it, but I don't have time right now because I'm in somebody else's account handling something, or I'm on the phone and you're realizing, oh, center office came up, but I don't have time to deal with it. So just quickly cancel it,
Okay.
then view,
Okay, where am I viewing? Up here at the
view, click on view.
The word view right there.
view. All right, I got it.
And then at the bottom is intra-office messages, the button flips,
Uh-huh.
and there your message is sitting there waiting for you, and you can look at it as often as you need to
Okay, awesome.
until you have time to deal with it.
Okay.
Once you're done with it, you can delete it.
Oh.
Now, I can't remember if on the new program this is going to go into an activity log automatically, but the whole intent
Tell
of
her.
these,
Did she say?
you guys probably already know this, so I'm preaching to the choir, but the idea is when you handle the message, it results in usually 9 out of 10 times in an activity log and or a pending task reminder. But let's say, Audrey, that you send a message to Rhonda and you're worried that, well, not that she didn't get it, but did she handle it? Or Rhonda's sending something to you guys that she wants you to handle on this account, and she's worried that, well, are you really going to handle it in time? All she has to do, whoever sends the message, is record your own pending reminder. Now, obviously, you took the phone call, so you need to do an activity log anyway if you're, in most cases, you're sending off something for someone else to handle because it was a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can pin under that account to just make sure you check in a couple days, because you should be able to see a new activity log or something that means that other person handled what you asked them to do.
So that's under pending tasks?
Yep, we're going to go to that part next.
Okay.
Because that's the one last thing, at least today, because I think I've given you enough stuff today, except I just want to show you the auto screen. I want you to click on Tools on the top of the menu.
Okay.
Hang
Got
on, and we're going to do Preferences. There's different little tabs here you guys can look at later, but the one I want you to go to now is Pending Task Default. And if anybody's a note taker in the background, you don't have to take a lot of notes, but a couple things I want to make sure you know are very important. Remember, everyone does this on their own desk under their own sign-off. Mandatory.
Okay.
Okay.
And whenever you get a new computer, if your computer gets replaced, you're going to go in and reset this preference all over when it's the new program again. Because you have to download the program on a brand new computer, go through kind of the same steps you're doing now.
Okay.
So what this is it gives you guys a long or short overall big pending list. As you're starting to put pendings in on a lot of accounts, you're going to have a list that you can look at each morning, and you can print it if you want to, as often as you need to during the week. But most of the time, people on the left are going to view future tasks of due today or due in 1 week. So Jackie, what would you like her to check for you?
Do you want your pending tasks to be just
Due
show you
Or
today?
due in 1 week?
Or for the whole week? Or
Oh,
weekend?
no, I want it day by day.
Due today.
Yeah.
Now, I'm kind of coaching you which ones to choose. You could certainly have chosen any one of these other choices, but you really only want to be looking at your short list. You don't need to know what that pending item is 3 months out from now until we actually are within that date range, because that's why you set it that far in advance. However, once you set your normal preference here, you can go in at any time and look at your overall list of stuff that is 3 months or 6 months out. Maybe you want to print it, but you're always going to go back in then and set your short, day-to-day menu. That's not saying you can't go and get one of those long lists. It's just that's not the list you want to come up every day, because you're not going to have time to look at it anyway. And you're going to view tasks. In this case, Aubrey, you're choosing Jackie's name for viewing her tasks. And the pop-ups for everybody is my tasks only. And then you're going to click OK.
My task.
So that's very, very important. Rhonda doesn't really need her choice to be entire office because I'll show you in a minute why she would just choose her name for now.
That's something everyone has
Now,
to
you
do.
can read the fine print down below in this box later on when you guys are each setting up your own. And I always encourage you to read the reading that is in these boxes, because if you only look at certain parts, then you're kind of missing what the value of that particular utility is. But go ahead and click OK. So on this Homer and Donna Jones account, we're going to look in the upper right-hand corner again, and just to the left of those red icons are two pending ones. The first one is looking like there's a finger with a string around it to remind you to do something. So that's to create or edit your pending. The next one will be to view the overall list, but let's get one set up first. So go ahead and click that. Same kind of format, where it always will pop up today's date, but you could choose whatever date you want, so we're going to use today's date. The alarm time is if you want this little window to pop up at you to remind you to take care of something. You don't have to do everything as a pop-up because it will go to your overall list anyway. But for instance, let's just choose 3:30 p.m. Assuming you're at 1:25 or 3:25, that's what I'm at. So we'll do about 4 or 5 minutes from now.
Yep.
Does that sound good?
Yes.
And you want p.m., of course. And you can, in this case, let the action default, but you have a list to choose from. And we know the client is whoever you need to choose where this pending pertains to. You don't just choose whoever's first in the list. You open up the drop-down and choose the appropriate person.
Okay.
Normally, both in activity logs and pending, you don't just choose the first name, and you don't necessarily choose who you're talking to on the phone. You choose this action or event by who it's affecting on their policy in most cases. Now, sometimes it's an overall account thing, and it's going to be the person you're talking to. But when it starts getting policy specific on things they're asking about, that's who the client is. And that's because of the split household feature that we'll be telling you about later. So we already know the producer is Jackie. And in the description, let's just put whatever you want to put again, but some kind of note.
Training.
Training with Donna, or gee, I'm getting bored here, or whatever. You also have a spelling check before you click OK if you want to make sure you're kind of spelling things correctly.
Goodness.
I get it. I'm bad.
Well, pending probably isn't that big a deal, but activity log is, I mean, you can still use abbreviations, but you don't want to get in the habit of misspelling, full words, because if you ever printed that activity log and it goes to court, you do want it to look a little bit professional. Well, not court, but even to the adjuster.
Okay.
And then click OK.
Make it tough.
And now we're going down two things. If you want to look at the pending client, then on the bottom tab folders, you have pending tasks, and that's for this household.
She covered some of it.
So you've got a pending sitting there,
Which
is cool. Now I want you to go to the top of the screen next to the Create a Pending. You now have View or Edit your pending tasks. And this will be the big list that you guys should be coming to every single morning. You may not have time to do a whole lot with it, but you can just keep viewing it as often as you want, or you can print it, and probably at least a couple times a week. But right now we're looking at Jackie's list. You could click on the drop-down arrow and be looking at Rhonda's. You could be looking at Mike's. You could be looking at the entire office. If you ever choose to look at the entire office, keep in mind, not all of you are going to choose maybe view pending today. Some of you may choose the week one. So when you're doing the entire office, the pendings that show on this list are not going to be on it unless they're within each of those designated view dates. So in other words, if someone did say their pending list is 3 weeks out, well, unless we're within that date range on the entire office list, it won't be there on this list, but it'll be under the individual pendings.
Okay.
People get panicky about that because only the pendings that are within these desired due dates of how you set up your preference is going to show on this list. And it's to keep it from getting really long and unyielding. Okay, so you're going to see left to right, there's an OK column, and then all your pending items. And if you want to scroll a little bit to the end where the customer CSR is, if you click on that name, a little drop-down arrow will open up. And I like to just kind of tell you, if you guys know you have a planned absence or maybe kind of an unplanned one and you have to leave, but you know there's some pending stuff that actually probably needs to happen today, tomorrow, or whatever. If you know you're going to be out of the office, you can reassign your pending item to another person so that it's sure to hit their list. If you guys don't already have a buddy system, when someone's gone, you cover their pending or vice versa. This system will assure that that pending item is on somebody else's list and they're handling it for you. But just because you're gone doesn't mean the pendings get to just sit there. They're in pending because they mean something to you. So that's the fast way of doing that. And now press your home key. That will take you back to the beginning of the grid. Okay, that little OK column, that means, and I don't want to actually do this yet, but if we clicked OK, what will pop up immediately is, once the pending's done, you've handled it, you can bring up an activity log, select the member that follows that policy, task is completed, and so that pending note will come into here, and it's meant to be very short, like 1 or 2 liner pendings. But if you need to add anything as a result of that pending outcome, you can still add more notes if you want. Now, in this case, we're not going to click OK yet because I don't want it to be a completed item because I'm waiting for that pop-up when we go back to it. Okay? So cancel this for now.
Well, was it set for what time?
The activity log. And we're going to uncheck that pending. It's not really done yet. If the item was checked as done, it's gone to the activity log, we would then need to get rid of it because you don't need to keep these on an open-ended pending big list. Once they're done, they're done. You can use, and I don't want you to do this yet, but you can use the X there to delete individually, one at a time, of those done items. Or you can use edit if you have a whole bunch of them because you've forgotten to delete them. Then you could use the edit to delete completed tasks. That would be multiple tasks. So
Okay, now does this time
because they have gone into an activity log, so anybody checking the household record knows if that item was requested and it was completed, then it's done and it's recorded in the activity log.
Okay, does this go according to the time on our computer? Because it's 3:32 here on her computer.
Well, it's not going to pop up on this screen, so I'm hoping when we go back that within a few more seconds it will pop up.
Oh.
The time thing is sometimes a little bit off, I have to say. Sometimes it pops up right on that designated time. Other times it might take another minute or two, but it will pop up at some point while I'm still jabbering. Okay, so let's go to the auto policy real quick.
Well, how do you get out of this? I don't have an exit button up here.
You got a backhand.
Right here.
Okay, and Donna, before I forget to ask you something, I don't know if you've gone over this or not when I was doing that policy, but up here where it says login activity, is there a way for ours to, the first thing besides cancel policy comes up? Because I did a deal the other day, and it wasn't cancel policy, it was like a phone conversation or something. Is there any way to make this generic on all of our computers to something
what
else?
Kind of generic choice are you thinking of?
I'd rather do it phone call versus cancel policy.
She did miss that part, didn't she?
She wasn't there, no.
I was doing the...
And when you see the activity log, I don't know, were you still back here when we went and viewed the activity log?
No, but what I'm trying to get at is that cancel policy is the first thing that comes up. And my understanding in this system, which was different than contacts through Lookout, is that once we enter a contact, we cannot go and correct it. And the other day, because our Outlook was always set to phone call, I entered a note in here and failed to remember to change this from cancel policy to something else. And now I can't go back and correct it. And I would much rather it be saying phone call versus cancel policy if I forgot to change it.
Even if you, quite frankly, select the wrong event or action, it's not that big a deal. Because in the notes, you're describing what went on in that conversation anyway. But we're going to be very different than ANS. We're not going to default it to phone calls. And there's not really a way to make a default on an activity log. I don't know if he's changing that for version 3, but we don't want it just an automatic rote action because of the point that let's just say you did record the wrong event and you felt like you need to go in and correct it. All you would do is create a new activity log and choose the right event. And then just say, see previous activity log. Even if it comes out, it might happen once or twice to you guys, but it won't happen more than that. Let's say when you record an activity log, you've accidentally recorded it on the wrong account for whatever reason. So if it gets recorded under the wrong family member and account, all you would do is go to the right account, open up the log, and indicate the log under such and such account either does not pertain, don't say it's wrong, just say activity log on wrong account, such and such, and then put the correct message in the correct account. Because we don't want you to be able to alter or delete. I don't know if you could in ANS, but it sounds like you couldn't alter or delete them, and you're not going to be able to in ABS either. But I think the rest of you kind of see the reason why we don't want you to default everything to phone call. Most everything already is a phone call. We want to know why they called. Because when you view the overall activity log, were you here when we showed that?
No, I was doing something else.
Audrey, bring up if you're on Joan.
No, that's okay. I've been in the activity log. She doesn't have to bring one up. My concern is that the way that Donna, I've already seen that. But my only concern was the very first thing in alphabetical order under this is cancel policy, and we are working so fast sometimes that we are going to forget to change that from cancel policy, as I've already done putting one in. And I was just wondering if there was something else that could come up first besides cancel policy. And if it can't, that's no big deal.
Well, let's see. We'll have a reaction to that. We work so fast. Every once in a while, you're going to have to slow down a second or two and watch what you're actually entering in. It's kind of like the edit lien holder, and I don't know that she was here for that part.
Okay, where are we going to?
The edit menu.
Uh-huh.
The customizing. Now, Jackie, were you here when we did the lien holder list?
No.
So you guys will have to show her a couple things that we've already gone over because she might have missed kind of a big portion of that first part. But we're going to go to the activity log drop-down list, which is going to be the same thing that we did on the lien holder list. In order to bring that event up to the top of the list, like she's requesting,
anything but cancel policy. I don't care what one goes first, but my concern was that we cannot edit these comments like we could. So I'm a perfectionist, and when I forget to do it to something, I'd much rather it say phone conversation or policy mail versus the first thing you see, policy canceled.
Well, it's all in the alphabetical of what you put in with that first word. That's what puts us into alphabetical order.
And she don't want it phone calls, so I don't care what you want.
When you click down into the grid, Audrey, that's your insert key. Put one space bar.
Okay.
Now, we already have phone call in here, so we'd have to take out the previous one. But I really don't like phone call as your choice, so I want you guys to know that because it's just not the way to do this. But if you want it that way, then put one space, then put phone call.
That's fine.
Can we put contact?
don't care.
Do you want to put insured or you could have two contacts. One is insured, one is like say regional office or something.
I've already forgotten to change the
These can be pretty itemized out what you want for your events or your
Can we
actions.
just put insured?
Can we just put
It's totally
insured?
up to you.
Can we just
You guys
put
decide amongst
insured?
you. What do you want?
Can we put insured?
You can put whatever you want.
Okay.
But wait a minute. Yes. So put the space and then insured.
Okay.
Then just make this go away. Close it.
It didn't go. You didn't. You need to hit the insert key
Yes,
first.
it did. Yes, it did. It doesn't
Oh.
sort until you reopen it again.
Okay.
Okay,
Now go
so
to your edit. Activity log.
okay, just X out of it. Is that what you're
Yes, you need
saying?
to close it. You need to close that.
And then
little
go
window.
back to edit and go back to the activity log.
Yep. Now shoot.
Go up.
Why did that one do that?
Because I don't think she did the
You know what?
insert
When
key
you
like
log
Michael was
between the
trying.
space and that one doesn't do it. So your catchword at the top of the alphabet needs to be something. The space didn't work like it does on the lien holder, and it made the none go to the top of the list, which will explain to you why.
Well, none isn't
This
on our
event
top of the
it
list.
doesn't appear that's going to work for me. And then just basically continue reminders. Either return the phone call or you've done whatever you needed to, then you can say task completed, stop reminders, and it will send you into an activity log.
Okay.
And people asked for this little piece so that when they were done with the pending, a lot of them were going to the activity log anyway to note that they took care of the item, and so we're just kind of allowing this to immediately happen for you.
Okay.
Kind of required.
That's good.
Okay, so we stopped reminders or it went to the activity log,
Uh-huh.
and now right behind it, you're probably looking at that window, and your action contact should be at the top. So it's really driven by your alphabet of how you put this in. It didn't work by putting a space in. Oh, yeah, it did. Oh, I'm wrong. It also worked on my other little thing that I tried
Do I just hit OK to get out of this?
first.
Cancel.
The other thing, when I put in insured, I put a space and insured. So that is also
You're the wrong one.
at the
You
top,
go back to John.
as well as
Down it in the homework.
above that would be your action contact. So you really could use either one of these.
You got to go to.
But while you're new, Jackie, what we
Jones.
really want you to do is get used to opening up the list initially while you're new. Instead of just taking shortcuts until you're really kind of with the flow of the program. I hate to say it, but we do want you to slow down a couple seconds.
Ours didn't do it. Ours still didn't change any on our activity log.
Okay, so there's something we forgot to do. Let's go edit again, because that's a good thing that you're asking to do. Choose edit activity log drop-down list. It wasn't pending, was it? It was definitely the activity drop-down.
I hit edit and I hit the activity log drop down list, and it comes up with all that list of stuff.
Okay, we're going to do this again.
Okay.
Go down into the grid.
Uh-huh.
Press the
Click
insert
down
key.
into the grid.
Do what now?
Click down into the grid. Click the bottom one. There you go. Now hit the insert key.
That opens up a new blank line.
Insert.
There.
Okay. Okay.
Now
See.
press your space bar one time,
One time.
and we're going to type in the word action contact.
That's when you know that the editing is
Contact
working.
or action insured?
Put action insured.
Action contact. We're just playing with this right now, but that's
Okay.
what we're going to type
Okay.
in.
All right.
Action space contact.
Okay.
It's not always an insured, so that's why I think contact, you might want both of them in here, but for right now we'll do contact.
Okay.
Okay, now just click anywhere else in the grid and then exit. And because it's not tomorrow yet, we're going to exit the program and come back in. I know that's kind of annoying, but that's the way it works, so. Then you're going to come back in. Good practice signing on and off, too.
Well, and I've got a question then. All right, so if anytime anyone edits the activity log and puts a new activity, then everyone has to log out and log back in to see it?
No,
Okay.
probably only just the person that edited it.
Okay.
And you'll find that out by kind of experimenting. Like when you guys are going, this next few days when you're going through those edit lists,
Yeah.
if you guys know once you get familiar with what the drop-down menu choices are, and you may decide, and I would have some more staff meetings. If you guys aren't used to having them regularly for the next little while, I would have a weekly staff meeting so that you can kind of converse and make things consistent. And if you have several items you both can think of that should be in that activity drop-down list, then one of you could put those 5 items in at one time, get out of ABS instead of coming in and out of these different lists, various times.
Okay.
Because you guys already know what your rhythm is, and when people call in, what choices you'd like in there. But we made it pretty extensive to begin with because it does cover a lot of areas already. So now when we do the edit, activity log drop-down list, are your items popping in at the top?
Action and contact is there.
Okay, so it worked.
It worked. It worked.
We don't want you to take a lot of things out of the sort order.
I don't know.
No, I
But
can.
in Jackie's situation, she's probably going to hold true to her old habits, and we're going to try to break some of them. I hate to say that, but the idea is if you all can kind of work consistently, then this program is really going to be to your advantage of consistent data.
Okay.
Now, and this makes a big deal, if Jackie's still there, of why we want you to enter the appropriate initial reason why they're calling, because that just goes along with the logging activity. But because we can split a household, which we'll get into later when you in the next training, if mom and dad get a divorce and one of them moves out, we are going to take those logs to that new household of that person that moved out.
All of them?
I kind of want to make sure the event reasons are pretty accurate when we take them out. I want to use the same old action insured as all your events or your actions. Because what it kind of forces you to do also, when you go to look at that view activity log, instead of having to read the content of every message when you're looking for something that happened 4 weeks ago or 4 months ago, you really only want to look at the action taken, which was like cancel policy, change a lien holder, instead of having to look at all the same actions that say action contact or action insured. Well, that means I got to read each and every log to find out which one I'm looking at that's quite old. You'll get that message kind of the more and more data that you get in here.
Right.
Right.
I know, it's breaking some habits you're not used to and you're not comfortable with. And you kind of try to go with the flow. And the very first selection is account activity log, select by criteria. Now, we don't have a lot of logs in here, but the most common one is going to be, we're going to select by a date range. We're using today's date, so click OK. You guys can come in and out of here as often as you want because this report is containing all the logs that have occurred during today and by different CSRs. So, Audrey, let's just say you got on a phone call, you were in the midst of recording an activity log, and you had much more to say but didn't have time because the stupid phone rang. Well, you can come back a little bit later, pull up this log, you can see a couple things you've already worked on today, and then that will remind you, oh yeah, I didn't finish what that conversation was, so great. Close this, create a new activity log, and you can just say continue, CONT, because probably nobody else has created a log since you were on the phone earlier anyway, but nonetheless, you can still say continued because this is recorded under your CSR, and you can continue and add more to that content of what the conversation was all about.
On a different deal, not on that one.
So your policyholders know that you got to do stuff on the computer, and believe me, every time I work with other vendors other than insurance companies, they ask the same dang thing over and over again, because they have to go through so many screens that by the time they get back to the one where you're now asking a different question, they ask you the same information again. We don't do that in this program. We don't ask for redundant information. You rarely, the closest you come to typing redundant information is the main account screen is your mailing address. And now we need to, actually, let's close this now because we're going to go into the auto real quickly because there's something I do need to point out. See halfway in the middle of the screen, on the auto screen, there's a bright yellow field that says garaging address. This is where the garage actual residence location goes if it's different than the post office box like we had. You would physically type in the address here. If the city address is the same, then you could type in the zip field, double-click it, and it'll fill in the city and state.
Okay.
If it is a street address on the account screen, then all you have to do is come in and double-click the garaging address. I think you still have to type in the zip code, but when you double-click it, it'll fill in the city and state for you. So yellow fields are meant for double-clicking, which brings me to the top row. In every policy screen, these two rows are identical. So you have your policy status, your policy number, you've got your effective renewal, cancellation, and inception dates. And would you believe it, I'm working with a new client this morning, and for the second time since last Friday, he still doesn't understand what inception date is. Even the meaning of inception means at the beginning or the new business date. This is when the policy was written or sold.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to say actually policy sold because that can have the other meaning, which means it's canceled, they've sold the car. So I always use new business date. So what I'd like you to do is on Homer and Donna Jones, correct? At the top there?
No, you're not.
Screen says,
No, she's not there.
We're in.
No, we're not there.
Okay, are you in the auto screen?
I'm in the auto screen.
Okay, at the very top it says auto, and then it says the account you're in.
Yeah, it says NA Lookout.
What are we doing in there? Okay, we're not on Homer Jones. Let's go back to the account screen and do F4 because I thought we were still in Jones.
Okay, go back to
That little back hand right there.
Okay. Go to...
Either binoculars or the other one right there.
Yep, you got it. Binoculars or the browse list, either one.
Browse list is a little easier because you can choose more, I think.
I actually like the F4 account, but while you guys are new, I think you'll want to get used to the browse list because you need to know if that account's already in there or if you need to add a new record.
Okay, I've got you guys' name in there.
Well, we want Homer Jones.
Right. Homer and Donna.
Okay, so now we're going to go into their auto, and we're a blank screen. And at the very top, it'll say auto, and probably Jones, comma, account.
Well, it's got Agency Business System Incorporated.
On the auto screen?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, because we're an entity. I'm sorry. It's taking the entity name because we filled that in. Otherwise, it'll take the first and last name.
Okay.
Forgot about that. Okay, so anyway, this is a blank screen, and you already know the garaging part of it. But up at the top with those yellow date fields, I would like you to double-click the inception date field, and you'll see something happen.
Okay. Put today's date.
Effective and renewal date are filled in for you.
6 months later. What if it's a yearly policy?
Well, in the second row to the right, that's why you guys need to kind of practice adding in some of your own accounts because you need to get familiar with these fields. Just because we've dropped in some ANS data, it doesn't nearly fill in a lot of these fields. So you want to just kind of eyeball each field later on as you're entering. That's why all of you practice with your own file or make up dummy data. We don't care, but use the fields so that you know you need to enter stuff.
Okay.
So you're right. Normally, you probably want to tell the program, is this a 6-month or a 12-month policy?
Right.
We assumed it's a 6-month because it's auto, but with independence, it's obviously a year.
Well, even Farmers has a yearly policy.
For auto, have they switched to that now?
We can either write a 6-month or a year.
Okay. Well, you'll have to tell the program in that policy months field, in that second row, that it is 12 months, and then double-click, go ahead and double-click it again, and you'll see the numbers change to a year.
Okay.
Now, whoever's note-taking...
Okay, hold on.
Hold on, Sherry. I'm not getting where you're...
Policy months over there. Down. There you go.
Oh, okay. Go right. I got you. And then double-click it again. All right, we got you.
I kind of a little bit know about computers, a little bit.
You guys ought to hire him to work in your office.
We are. I'm going to put him at my desk.
Couldn't afford it.
I know he's already there for a lot of other reasons, but okay, two really important things. And this is probably one of the most important things, other than Mike will write down also they need to restart their computers every single day without fail.
I just wrote that on their brains.
If they're not already doing that, they are going to be doing that. And sometimes because you're brand new and you're doing a lot more heavy-duty data entry, we would like to suggest until you at least get to version 3 that when you take your noon hour lunch, bathroom break, or microwave break, because some of you probably don't take lunches, that you need to restart your computer. There's a lot of reasons for that, which I'm probably not going to clutter up your mind with right now, but Mike and I have already talked about that, and Mike, you might convey some of those reasons.
I'll do that.
One, because of Microsoft Access corruption, and that's what we're trying to avoid. And that will go away mostly with version 3, but right now it's still an important piece of Windows and Microsoft Access. So just trust us. We know what we're saying. If you miss it now and then, not a big deal, but sometime early in the afternoon, it's a good idea. One, not to keep a lot of programs empty or open just because it's convenient for you. Only keep 3 or 4 windows open most of the time if you can help it. If you don't want to break that habit and keep a lot open, then you can expect that you should definitely be restarting your computer in the early afternoon.
Right, and not having a lot of things open is also important because it keeps viruses from getting in, like internet windows. Just don't leave internet windows open when you're gone away from your computer. Just have them open when you're working.
I don't think I might keep my email open all day myself.
Yeah, it's just not good because that's how viruses get in.
Not because viruses come through your email. So. Yeah. And I know while everybody likes to send personal emails to their friends during the day, these are business computers, and so. I mean, I'm just throwing this out there. Mike will probably agree. Send as little personal email as you can through the business computers because I ask all my friends not to put me in their contact address books, and I don't know if they've done that or not, but when you send these things that you want to forward to, 10 more people, if a virus comes through that computer, it also goes through your contact address books, so those viruses get sent on to your friends as well.
And if you're using your business email, then it goes to your clients.
So I hardly ever forward that kind of stuff.
Happened to 2 of my clients this week.
So you really want to be careful of that at work and ask your friends not to send that kind of stuff through the work email. They can send it to your home if you want, but not here. Because those viruses, ask Mike, are really nasty to work with if you get them through your computers. They've
had experience with them.
Yeah.
You don't want to repeat that, I'm sure. Okay, so other than restarting, the other most important thing is this inception date stuff. Even as an X date, if you're entering that prospect information in, by the time you add the name, address, phone number, the family members, save it, come to the auto. Immediately when you open this up, and if you click into even probably one field, it will become a prospect policy, whether you quoted it or not. But if you're planning on quoting it, choose the policy month, double-click the inception date, because even as a prospect, that way we know how long ago it was we started quoting this. Especially on something like commercial or even home, sometimes that takes several phone calls, or they're asking you to quote different coverages. It might be a week, it might be a 2-week process, and that reminds you of how long it's been, and you might need to ask more underwriting information again. The renewal field is helpful because as a prospect, we also have a P&C and a commercial X-date list. So we'll get into more about this renewal stuff, but at the beginning of each morning, when whoever signs on first, we run through our maintenance of ABS. And a couple things we update is the renewal dates on even existing policies. We update the birthdays, and I know we update one other main thing that the program does automatically for you. Oh, also, if you put a cancellation date in for next week and you forget to make the policy status inactive, when next week arrives on that day when the program first opens up, we will make that policy status inactive if that's what it's supposed to be because of the cancellation date you put in. You'll want to put the producer in, whoever is writing or quoting that policy. Even if Rhonda or let's say Audrey, you quote when this first comes in, when they call back, they actually get Jackie, and she continues maybe re-quoting but changing the coverages around. Audrey would still be the original producer, because obviously they're calling back, they're still interested, it's just someone else caught the phone call and making some subtle changes during the rating process. The time you can double-click in once you've actually, let's say this is a prospect, and 3 days later they're now committed, they're going to come in either that night, they're coming in that day, you can double-click the inception date again, because that's the date that we're going to write the policy, and then when they come in, or you've got the money, you just double-click what the time is. Unless you've already asked them, it's going to be 12:01, a.m. or p.m. Okay, so in the middle core of the screen is where our vehicle stuff is.
Okay.
And each vehicle has its own effective and inception date. With farmers, it's kind of different now because you've got some of the policies that were still one vehicle per policy, and now you have the ability to put multiple vehicles on, but it's not all one or the other. But on the multiple vehicles, sometimes the policy is written with the first 2 or 3. They all do have the same effective and inception dates as the policy, but later on, you're going to be adding a 3rd or a 4th vehicle, and therefore their effective dates and inception are different. They aren't the original policy ones. If you forgot to add the rated drivers when you were starting to quote them, we have a little shortcut key which says on the far left, you see the driver field, and there's an add button over to the right, down 1. If you click on that, Audrey, this is the same member detail window that we had you edit initially. After you set up the account, you went down to the member tab. Well, if you forget to do that and you go immediately into the policy for the auto, you can click that little button and get these people added in very quickly. You can even go back in and kind of edit that driver if you now decide that you really want to quote, and now you need to get the driver's license and the date of birth or whatever.
Right.
When you assign the driver, it's going to, if you've got the date of birth already initially into that members, then it's going to fill in the age for you. And it's always a good idea to repeat that age so that if they accidentally said the wrong year, you catch it right away. But ABS will fill it in for you. The lien holder down below, the garaging address, if you open that list up with that little dotted button there, that's the same lien holder list that we went under the edit menu for. So this is one exception to the edit list. For the auto, for any of the lien holders on any of the policy screens, you can edit the list right within the policy. So you would add or edit it first, click OK, because we're adding or editing it to get it into the list, and then you open it up again real quickly and point and click your selection in. Click OK, and it's assigned then to that particular vehicle. Now, when you want to add a second vehicle, this is what a gentleman forgot that I showed him last week on, is right next to the check mark up above in the navigator bar is a two-tone blue symbol, and if you hover over it, it says Add New Car to this policy.
Is it that one or that one? No.
And if you pause enough, it tells you what the hotkey is. I never use that hotkey for this one because I just go and click it. But when you do, now you can add your new car, and in the tab it says New Car.
Okay.
So that's how you keep adding your second, your third, your fourth vehicle. And the symbol next to it is if you at some point decide that there is a vehicle to be deleted, then that's how you would delete just the vehicle. You're not deleting the policy, you're deleting just that vehicle that you have highlighted by the tab that you've clicked on. Anything else jump out at you guys? You're not sure what it is? I didn't want to have to go through everything on here, but is there anything that you kind of... Oh, I know one thing I should mention. Each vehicle has their own individual premium.
Okay.
So the policy premium that's in the policy second row, once you've got the individual premiums filled in, if you double-click that policy premium yellow field, it will add up your individual premiums. So you'll know what the overall policy premium is.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a long day, and I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing me. We got more to cover, but this is the basics so that hopefully tomorrow, if you guys all practice adding your own account or a family member's account, whatever, and want to make up bogus data, most all of the fields so that you're looking at them. If you question them, there is the manual. You guys may want to print more than one manual. We sent you one, but you can print as many additional manuals as you want.
Yeah.
From our website.
Right.
I think it's good to have at least one or two in the office, maybe, and then one extra that you guys individually could take home with you and read, or leave it at home for a while so you can have a good time reading a couple pages at a time at night. Ha ha.
Yeah.
But sometimes it helps to go home and you can read something in 10 or 15 minutes and you got it down.
Well,
try to read it during the day. It's going to take you a half hour with interruption.
Yeah, not only that, you've got the quick helps that they can go to on the main screen, so that's good too.
Yeah, the how-tos really for beginners. And if you guys are really kind of feeling like, God, she overwhelmed the hell out of me today, you can go to the web and under the download page, kind of quickly go through the tutorial. It's just a slideshow, but it'll familiarize when you click these menu items what drops down for you.
Okay.
I'm saving the queries and a few other things because you're real new to the program. You need to practice entering data. Even though we've dropped down a lot of ANS data, at least when your phone calls come in, you can use the F4 or the browse list to look up that account. And as Rhonda mentioned yesterday, there appears to maybe be about 17 accounts out of 15, almost 1,600 that may be missing. And those may have to be added when it comes down to, well, they didn't come through the conversion. And
to the layman.
Right.
And that is that, there's basically two ways to design a database.
Right.
One of them is hierarchical, and you can see your screen now, by the way, so we're connected.
Good.
You have to, as you design these things, you have to be smart enough to pick what's the best solution for your particular application.
Right.
And in this kind of environment, hierarchical makes perfect sense because you have, you have a customer and then, or a household, let's say. These are all the different tables in your database.
Right.
Rhonda, are you there yet?
Rhonda's not here yet.
Okay.
She should be here in a moment.
Okay, no problem.
Or a few.
You can see that there's lots and lots of tables, and that's fine. Databases are designed to handle lots of tables. You would think that you would start out with households.
Right.
Is kind of what she is inquiring about. Some missing households. But if we take a look at what's in this household table, let's open the table and return all rows. You can see that there is nothing in here that is meaningful to a human being.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got household ID over here, and we've got contact ID. And as soon as I saw this, I realized, okay, this is a relational design.
Right.
You've got, contact, you've got household, and over here you've got an indication of where you might find information about this.
Right.
But if you look at this closely, you can see, for example, here,
right.
These are there are 4 different household IDs.
Right.
So now you can't say that household is a unique field.
Right.
Okay, and so that makes it really difficult. And you go in and take a look at contacts.
Right.
And the contacts within the household might be mom and dad and Junior and
right.
the Labrador Retriever. I don't know.
Right.
So it becomes a real challenge to say, okay, to take the information from a database like this into a database like ours.
Right. I can see how that could be challenging. Although I can already kind of figure out that the one over here is who the head of household is, probably.
That's the guy that's the head of household, exactly. Yeah, and I believe, and so that's kind of what we used when we did the data conversion.
Right.
So anyway, you take a look at that, and then you say, okay, well, then the next logical thing would be that we could find more detailed household information in the address book.
Right.
So if I open the address book, I keep forgetting not to double click here. I need to do it by menu. Well, the address book is organized kind of the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not where you would look normally. And so, anyway, to shortcut this, you could go through a whole bunch of different things. You could view addresses, I keep double-clicking because that's what I do with my development tool.
Right.
There's addresses, but it doesn't really help us a lot because I don't have, I've got an address ID, but I don't have a contact ID, and I don't have a household ID. So I can't link this information back to that household table. There's yet another link somewhere in between. So anyway, if I go back here, and I'll kind of try to make a shortcut here, I'll open this contacts table.
Right.
This is where we find most of the stuff.
Right.
And we do have a contact ID, so I can go back. I can link this stuff back to the household ID.
Right.
In that household table. But there's let's see. I'm trying to. If I look over here, one of the things that I think that Rhonda was looking for was and here's that customer ID that we saw in there.
Right.
And that you can see that there's a lot of gaps in this. So the customer ID is not something that you can reliably use to assign each record. It has to be done through this multiple relationship deal.
Right.
But if I'm looking over here for what we call an entity name, and I believe they call it something else in here, business name or something like that. And the real problem is that most of the time there's nothing there in that field. And I'm going back over here. We've got business, business.
IP welding.
Where is it? We got other stuff. We got some binary fields, and I thought for a while that this binary field here was actually the images that she wanted, but it's not, and I couldn't make out what it really is. Anyway, that. What I was hoping we could do is if Rhonda could give us the name of the ones that she believes are missing, maybe we can find it here.
IP welding. How about IP welding?
IP welding, and would that be the file as name?
She said she knew one that was missing. IP welding, Jackie. Okay. Jackie's going to get a list of ones that we're looking for.
Okay, let's see.
There's 4 of them that I know for sure. One of them's Audrey Moore.
All right, can you hear her?
One of them's Audrey Moore. One of them's GRN. One's Randy Buck, and one's 5P Welding.
Okay, I wasn't quite ready to write that stuff down. Did you say Audrey Moore?
Mm-hmm.